Hello there, my name is Mark Fish, and do you see yourself being driven in the future in an autonomous vehicle? We've seen it in the media for a while now, and they bring great benefits with them, like reduced traffic, which, let's be honest, we all sit in for hours a day when we go to work. Another benefit they bring is reduce climate change, which is another massive problem in the world at the moment. Another benefit is increased safety on our roads, as we have loads of casualties every year on our roads, not just in the UK, but around the globe. There's many other benefits, way too many to name at the moment. But why haven't we seen these autonomous vehicles yet? And that's a question I wanted to answer in my Technology Society paper. I chose the title, The Potential Threats to Autonomous Cars, concerning cybercrime, ethics, and legal issues. Now, for this project, I had 3 aims, and for every aim, I had some objectives. My first aim was cybercrime. Cybercrime poses a massive threat to the future production of autonomous cars. My first objective was that I was going to read a book called Principles of Cybercrime, which was written by Jonathan Lau. This book gave me a better understanding of cybercrime so I could formulate this subheading properly. My second objective was to read loads of papers, academic papers, journals, or I already read a book, and some parts in the media. And then, of all of this information, in my third objective, I was going to bring it all together in a proper formulated subheading. Now, my next aim was ethics. Ethics is another one that poses a massive threat to the future production of autonomous cars. My first objective was to research with this and read the papers. I didn't feel that I needed to read a book because I already knew a lot about ethics. Now, my second objective for this was to gather all this information that I knew and then properly formulate it into a proper subheading under my discussion in my paper. My third aim was legal issues. Legal poses another massive threat against these productions of these autonomous cars. My first objective was to go onto the UK government's website and figure out, are there any laws on this autonomous cars? What laws are there? And I was going to read them. My second part of this, my second objective was to see how many papers are there, read all of them, all the different perspectives, and properly formulate it into a proper subheading under my discussion in my paper. Methods. The information collected for this paper was primarily from secondary resources like journals, academic papers, books. Most of my research came from academic papers due to the complexity of this topic. I mean, autonomous cars are very complex cars, and academic papers would be the most accurate, but I also used viewpoints from the media. I collected quantitative and qualitative data and incorporated them into this essay. For the collection, I also collected arguments, which were strong arguments for the future production of autonomous vehicles and against the future production of autonomous vehicles, which would strengthen the debate around my cybercrime. If you ask any random person in our population what a computer is, most of them will answer a phone, laptop, tablet, PC, but a car is not usually included in this list. But according to Richard Wallace, most modern cars are basically like computers on wheels. Now, I'm not talking about a literal phone with wheels or a PC with wheels like this. No, I'm talking more complex than that. In a car, there's various systems that control a car, electronics. I'm pretty sure we've all seen the wires in our cars, the little screens in the middle, they're all electronically controlled. One of the main ones is called an ECU, but more on the ECU later. And just like the devices I named, like a PC, laptop, tablet, phone, these can all come under attack from cybercrime, but also cars can come under attack from cybercrime. There are two different ways that cybercriminals can attack either your modern car or a future autonomous car. I'm going to explain them now. The first way a cybercriminal could compromise your car is just by sitting here while you're driving miles away on a country road or on the motorway. The way they do this is by accessing something called an ECU, which is an electronic control unit. This unit is in a car which can control stuff like accelerator, brakes, steering, and engine control. The way they access this is by accessing something like Bluetooth, the internet, or GPS, which are three systems, wireless systems, which are in most modern day cars. Cybercriminal can compromise your car is by being here on the side of the road. The way they do this is by using various techniques to compromise the sensors of your car. Now, on this car, there's a sensor called LiDAR. This LiDAR is for collision avoidance. Yeah, the way they can hack this and compromise it is by using something called saturation. Basically, this is an infrared spinning signal, and this gives off a wavelength. The way they can compromise this is by receiving this wavelength and transmitting it back at a high intensity, which makes it seem that the environment is completely different. So basically, it could make it think that that bird is not over there, but in the middle of the street. So it'd stop, which could cause a collision and a very bad accident. Ethics. Autonomous cars bring a benefit of safety. They reduce the amount of casualties on our roads. With 137,000 casualties, just for example, in the UK on UK roads between June 21 and June 2022, to decrease this statistic, they're going to be able to replicate human decision making and better. Now, to do this, a sense of ethics comes into play. And this is very hard to put into an algorithm. To show why this is so hard to put into an algorithm, I'm going to use this ethical example right here. This picture is my ethical example. Now, this is a road. This has two barriers on either side of the road, which are very tall barriers, which are just here. There's a car on the road, which is no ordinary car. It's an autonomous car. And there's a crosswalk. And on the crosswalk, there are two people. There's an old lady, which is X2, and there's a younger boy, which is X1. The car is going at such a speed, it won't be able to stop before the crosswalk. Now, there's three options, and every option there's going to be a fatality. Option 1, the old lady. The option 2, the younger boy. Option 3, the occupants of the car. Now, what's the choice? Who do you choose? Do you choose the old lady because the younger boy has a life to live? Or do you choose to kill the boy because the woman has wisdom and experience? Or the occupants because it's their fault the situation is occurring, right? Well, to solve this, the IEEE, which stands for Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, made a code of ethics. In this code of ethics, it states to treat all persons fairly, to not engage in harassment or discrimination, and to avoid injury to others. As I just explained, ethics has a massive problem in autonomous cars in the future. Now, this is going to have to be programmed into the brain of these autonomous cars. And there's two settings, MES and PES. MES stands for mandatory ethical settings, and PES stands for personal ethical settings. First of all, PES. PES can cause a massive problem because the occupants will program into the car what they think the ethical decision should be. And this could cause massive discrimination as they could target certain people when an accident occurs. Now, this also puts a massive burden on the occupants of these cars. That's why MES is of better interest to the society as it's going to cause the least amount of accidents, fatalities in the cause of an accident. Legal issues. So, as of today, there are not many laws on autonomous cars. The reason for this being is there's not a lot of autonomous cars on the road. Actually, there's none in the UK. But in 2014, the government did see that autonomy was coming as a technology, and they allowed in 4 cities the testing of some autonomous cars. Now, this developed over the years, and in 2020, they allowed a system called ALKS on UK roads. This ALKS stands for Automated Lane Keeping System. This can be seen in the new Tesla, which the new autopilot, which we've probably seen all over social media. But the Law Commission saw, with autonomy, full autonomy and autonomous cars coming in 2025, that there's going to be a gap in the law. So they put forward a framework in 2020, and in August of 2022, this was updated and built on more by the government. A release of this has not come out yet, but when this does come out, it will show more of a future point of view of what's going to be happening with these autonomous cars. What have we covered? For my first aim, we saw that cybercriminals can access your car in 2 different ways. The first way is remotely. This can be 10 miles, this can be 100 miles away. It doesn't matter because they're accessing the ECU via Bluetooth, internet, or GPS. The second way they can access your car is by compromising the sensors of the car. The way they did this is by standing next to the road using various techniques. Cybercrime is going to be a massive threat to future production of autonomous cars and is going to need a comprehensive security system to stop it. For my second aim, we saw that autonomous cars have an amazing safety benefit, but for this to come to fruition, they're going to have a sense of ethics. There were 2 settings that were put forward, which was an MES and PES system, and the MES was better as the society accepted this. Ethics is always a topic with autonomous cars, And in the future, it's going to be a topic in many conversations, and it's going to need a comprehensive solution before these cars could come onto our roads. For my third aim was legal issues. We saw that the UK government have allowed the system ALKS in the UK, which was the first step to full autonomy. Now, with full autonomy coming in 2025, at its earliest, the Law Commission saw that there's going to be needing a new framework. This framework is going to have to include many laws which we don't have yet. In the future, law is going to be a massive part in the production of these cars, a huge threat, but we don't know a lot about this at the moment, as there's a really big gap in the law at the moment considering this issue. It's not a question, will these autonomous cars come? It's when. And with these three threats, we can see that there is a massive gap until these come onto our roads, and they will all need to be overcome before they can be allowed on our roads. So, my reflection, what did I learn from this project? Now, I learned that autonomous cars are coming. When they're coming is still very uncertain. We're looking at these three threats. It's obvious that these will need to be overcome before the start of the production of these cars.